All right, let's try this again. Today is Thursday, April 18th, 2019. I am your host, Rebel Math Coach Bobby Ozuna, and we are officially streaming live.
One day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
All right, hello and welcome back to another edition of the iTutor Math Show. I'm your host, Bobby Ozuna. Again, this is Thursday, April 18th. This is my 12th live show. And like my shirt, Work in Progress, says, which is a direct depiction of me as a host to a live streaming show, so is my live streaming show. This is my second attempt tonight to get the camera to work. So welcome if you're watching another edition of the show. I'm going to try something a little different this week. I am in the midst of a 4-part series that is focused on the language of mathematics, focused on word problems specifically. So if you watched last week's show and the week before that, you saw that I'm basically giving you a list of fundamental vocabulary words that you can help your children master so that we can master the problem of fundamental word problems. I still have two more episodes, which are really relatively quick, multiplication and then division, and that 4-part series is over. So for you parents who are like, oh, I really want to help my children with word problems, they struggle with word problems, or like a lot of my students that I've worked with, you're an adult student, maybe you're on the venture to get your GED or your high school diploma, or you're working through some remedial math at the college level. If you struggle with word problems at a base fundamental language, at the base fundamental element, you're going to want to go back and watch the previous 2 shows where I basically give you what you can find on the internet, which is a list of vocabulary words that you can start practicing with yourself, other people, or your children at home. But tonight, I got a little bit different topic that I want to talk about tonight. I got something different I want to talk about tonight. So I'm going to break up that 4-part series to offer something different, something that resonated with me today, something that actually started my day a little upset about something that happened in the DFW area, specifically the greater Tarrant County area where I live. Something happened last night, and it sparked this thought. I talked to my friend this morning. We had a very, very big conversation around the topic because I was pretty passionate about it, and then it triggered a bell to something that I really want to talk about, specific to math, specific to teaching and tutoring, and specific for you. So let me go ahead and show you that tonight. So tonight, I want to talk about encouragement, the free lesson of encouragement. And this is really, really important. It's really, really dear to my heart. I feel like this is something big. So I'm going to start by telling you a little story. Let me go ahead and click over to, let's see if I can find my topics real quick. Man, nothing is working tonight. I swear, nothing is working tonight. So let's see if we can get this to roll for me. I need something to work. So I'm going to basically talk about something that sparked, something that's pretty passionate, something that I always talk about all the years that I've been teaching. And because of an event that took place last night, specifically if you're in Texas, you're in the Fort Worth area, then you'll know what I'm talking about. We had a situation with the weather. So I want to talk about that tonight. I want to talk about the weather for a second. So let's talk about the power of words and the power those words play on success and failure for our children. Let's talk about that. If I can get this thing to work. Man, I swear nothing's working tonight. I don't know if I'm not supposed to share this message with you, or I am, and it's just not going to happen. Let's try it again. Nope. Sorry. If you're watching, this is real. This is live. There we go. I think I got it for you. So those of you who are watching, thanks for being patient. And if you've been watching my shows, you know that this has not been an easy quest for me. Let's talk about the power of words and their impact on success and failures of our children. Let's talk about that for a second. I apologize again for the delays. Nothing is working tonight. just to be completely honest with you, nothing's working. Let's talk about the power of words and what they have on success and failure. That's what I want to talk about tonight. This is really big as a teacher. All the years I've been teaching, I've been working with students. I want to start by telling you a story about the weather and why the weather. So I live in Tarrant County, and that's the Fort Worth area. They say Dallas-Fort Worth, but I'm a native to Fort Worth. So last night, if you were in the Tarrant County area or if you just watched it on the news, we've got some weather reports that started pretty early dealing with the weather. So last night, the 17th of April, the news started blowing up. And basically just talking about possible storms coming in. We had severe weather warnings starting as early as the morning, and it was just a bombardment on the internet of all these possible storms. And this went on all day, and I watched this at work where people started adjusting their schedule and adjusting when they were going to leave work and all these things, right? It's not a panic. It's just an obvious intentional awareness to the possibility of bad weather. Now, if you live in the Texas area, then you know we do get bad weather. We get thunderstorms that come out of nowhere, flash floods and hail and all sorts of stuff, right? Bunch of wind and rain. But something else happened last night regarding to the weather. My son was supposed to participate in an after-school event, and as early as the morning, there was a series of messages that were going out with the parents, and they were asking the group leaders, are we going to do this thing in the evening because of the weather? And then, aside of that, I started getting messages from the school that after-school events were going to be postponed also or possibly delayed. And this went on and on to about 4 o'clock, and decisions were made, right? Big decisions were made that because of the possibility of severe weather rolling into DFW, rolling into Fort Worth, rolling into Tarrant County, people were canceling events. So school events got canceled, and then after-school events like the ones that my son was participating in, you know, it was a pretty big deal. It was a special event they had planned. It got canceled. About the time it got canceled, the weather changed the report that the bad weather that was supposed to roll in as early as 3, then it moved to 4 o'clock, then it moved to 6 to 8, then it moved to 9-ish, and then it moved to, 10 to 12, and then the last report that I paid attention to, because I don't pay attention to the news and the weather, is, 12 to 2. Somewhere between midnight and 2 o'clock in the morning, these severe storms are going to come in. I went to bed last night about 1 o'clock, my normal bedtime. I woke up and I didn't see the world destroyed. I knew that it rained. My car wasn't beat up with any hail, and I didn't hear anything that told me that I slept through a major storm. Now, what the hell does that have to do with math, Bobby? What does that have to do with anything that you teach and what you're trying to share to help me as a parent help my children at home? That's a big question. That's a really big question, and the honest answer is it has a lot to do with it for the simple fact that this happened last night. Parents heard that there was a possibility of bad weather. Businesses, adults, organizations heard the possibility of bad weather talked about all day long, and we as adults adjusted our lives. We adjusted whether or not to have after-school activities, to have school activities, and then people adjusted their schedule of when they would leave to make sure they were home to prepare for the storm based on a news report of words that were shared with us. When I woke up this morning, I was semi-disappointed. Now, I wasn't disappointed because I wanted bad weather. I was disappointed because of all the hype and the energy and the loss of fun and things that we could have done or my son could have participated in based on the words that there might be severe weather. Again, what does that have to do with anything, Bobby? What does that have to do with math and teaching? Here's my argument. I think it has everything to do with it because it proved in one day, in one evening, a few messages, a few reports, a few updates on social media that there might be bad weather, basically determined the attitude and the approach that everyone took for the rest of their day based on words. That's the power of words. So we as adults adjusted our lives because of the probability of something happening based on something someone said. Now I want you to imagine if we as adults adjust our lives and our schedules and we canceled fun because there might be weather based off words that someone shared, because no one actually showed me the storm that was coming. They weren't following it with a camera and letting me see real time the storm that was rolling like it was some kind of action film. They showed me a radar and they gave me words that said, bad weather possibly coming. And everyone else took that and ran with it because we believe things that we hear. And those things settle in our mind. And they settle in our mind to the point that we believe them. And once we believe them, we act on them. And that's why I wanted to talk about that tonight, because it reminded me of the days that I was actually in a classroom, specifically working with adults. And specifically even more to adults who had a GED. Adults who were trying to break through that barrier of the struggles that they've had in their life for decisions that they made, not because they're less than anyone else, because they made a decision that impacted them, and then they chose to rise above that, to go back to seek and finish their education. And I noticed all those years that I've been teaching, the influence that I had over students, whether they were children or they were the parents of children or they were adult students, simply by offering words of encouragement. Can you imagine that if we as adults adjusted our whole lives off a few words of possible bad weather in one day, imagine the impact that negative words have on a child when all they hear is negativity for 18 years of their life. Imagine the impact, what you do to another human being as a parent or guardian or teacher or leader in the community when we ever tell a child, I don't think you can do that. I know you want that, but I don't think that's realistic. I think that's a dream. I don't believe that you can do it. Or maybe you can't. Or worse, maybe I can't help you. Which brings me back to the topic tonight. I talk about some of the most I put on my agenda the most common reason for struggling to help at home. All of the years that I've been teaching, all of the years that I've been teaching privately, I'm not talking about in the school system, because working in the school system and then working with adults at the junior college level, I was dealing with the outcome of people who may have suffered from negative reiteration as opposed to positive words of affirmation. But it was different because in the classroom, people provided me students. All the years that I've been teaching privately is when parents and families seeked me out personally to break through a struggle they were having in their home to help build a pattern of success for their children, because that's really all I offered was encouragement. And of all the years that I've been teaching, the most common reason that people have struggled to help their children at home has been because they believed that they didn't actually have anything to offer their children at home. And of all that particular answer has been, I'm not good at math, therefore how can I help my child? And I say this week after week after week, the less you actually know about mathematics, the better math teacher or math coach or math tutor you can be for your child at home. Or if you want to go up one level, the better math teacher, coach, and tutor you could be for another child in your community. You don't have to know anything about mathematics to understand the power of encouraging words and the power of consistency and the best teaching tactic of all, which is teaching someone how to discover answers as opposed to telling them how to do the math, which is what 99.9% of the education system in America does. It's based on the idea that students sit in front of me, contrary to how they learn. I lecture, I show you something, I tell you how to do it, and then I ask you in 30 minutes or less if you understand something that you may have never seen before, and you as a classroom or you as a student is supposed to say, yes. And we justify that and we validate that as teaching. They call it in the school system checking for understanding. You ask, the students say yes, and then you say, I'm teaching. And the reality is, show, don't tell, is my philosophy. I've already taught a show on that, which you can go look at on YouTube, on my channel where it's stored there, show, don't tell. I'm a big advocate for you can teach someone a lot more by showing them how to discover answers for themselves, to reach that moment of enlightenment, as opposed to telling them how to do the math and then trusting that that's really teaching them. What does all this, again, have to do with the weather? Here's the reason. And I don't know a special way to reiterate it, so I'm going unscripted. I'm going completely from the heart. We as adults adjusted our whole lives. Schools adjusted after school activities. Churches and other organizations adjusted their activities for the evening based on a few words said by a weatherman that there might be bad weather. And if we adjust our whole lives from hearing something that might happen, again, think about the impact you have on the spirit of a young child when they constantly hear negativity and they hear things like, you can't, I don't believe you can, you shouldn't dream that big. Those kind of words hurt the spirit of a human being more than anything else. And I said the main reason that a lot of people struggle at home is that they believe that they don't have anything to offer if they are not good at mathematics. And I'm telling you right now, the number one thing that you have to offer a child is positive affirmation that puts them in a place that they're receptive to learning with you because you love them. And then following some steps that I've been trying to guide you through, which is self-discovery of the answers as opposed to telling them the steps that they need to do, because we don't learn mathematics that way, and in America we're not. So again, I'll reiterate some points. Here's some very simple points, and I'm sure that if you spend some time tonight thinking through positive, encouraging things that you could offer your child, you could come up with a million more. But things like, I believe in you. When your child is struggling or they're scared of a standardized test. I went through this last week. I spent some time with a family I spent a little bit of time with a family that's very near and dear to my heart. We watched Game of Thrones together. And after that, before I left, I was saying bye to their little girl, and she's in second grade, and she was panicking, and she was in tears. She was emotional because she was stressing about the possibility that she wouldn't pass the STAR test or the state standardized tests in Texas. She wouldn't pass it next year, one whole year from now. And all I told her is it's the same thing I tell all my students. Hey, fail it. Don't worry about passing it. You got to believe in yourself. I tried to offer her the one thing that I can't offer her when I can't sit down and do mathematics, saying things like, I believe in you. I know that you can do it. You're going to do great. And the biggest and most powerful of all is I'm proud of you. The biggest and most powerful thing that you can say to a child that you're working with is I'm proud of you. You don't have to know how to teach mathematics to offer, because I do a lot of study and I've got a ton of books because I'm a nerd that way, and that where I've read books that are written by experts that work with children. Some of these people are people that I believe in. I believe in their philosophy. I believe in their approach. Some of them are the experts that write about academics, and I just want to buy the book so I can purposely burn it. And I want to buy another one so I can burn it again. There's always going to be the argument about the best way to teach, and I don't believe that I am the ultimate truth of educating, because I don't think there's a cookie cutter way of teaching children as a collective mass. But I do believe that there is an approach to teaching mathematics, just like there's an approach to math itself, that builds an environment of learning, builds a safe place where children feel like they believe in themselves because they're not judged by a grade, because the grades will come. When children feel good about themselves and they're not afraid to fail and they're willing to keep trying the math, knowing that, hey, I might get a 0 today, right? Because I didn't do the problems right. But if we don't focus so much on the grade that they get, but we focus more on the fact that they're attempting to learn something, that they're willing to try something they've never done before, and you alleviate the fear of what if I fail, and instead focus on you're a winner for trying. Because think about the success patterns that we have in life as adults. If success is the finish line, I'm telling you right now, that's the reason why we suffer with depression in the first place in America. If success is the finish line for you, you're going to miss years of good struggle to obtain a reward that may not come, especially if you set the bar so high and life doesn't work out that way for everyone. So we shouldn't set that up for our children. We shouldn't set it up for any children that we work with. We should totally focus on the fact that a winner is someone who gets up and tries, and they give the attempt with a positive attitude, a believing attitude. And if they come up short, it's not a failure. Failure is when you stop trying. It's not what grade you got. It's not did I pass or did I fail. It's did you quit. It's like the story of Thomas Edison. I've heard the story. I don't even know if the story is true, but I'll relay the story that I've heard 1,000 times from 1,000 different people. And they say Thomas Edison invented the light bulb after 1,000 failed light bulb attempts. So you got two perspectives that you can look at this. You can either say he failed 1,000 times, therefore he was a failure because he was only successful once, or you could say he was a success because the failures were part of the process to reach the success in the first place. You don't pick up a bat and hit home runs. You don't get on a football field and score touchdowns. You don't sit in front of a classroom and you're a master teacher. And you don't sit in a class to learn something that you've never done before and suddenly you're an A student. It just doesn't work that way. People who are good at one thing aren't good at another thing. No one's good at everything. So for you, and because some of the things that I read, one of the big topics, one of the big arguments, and I say this freely because I came from, a lower socioeconomic class. I came from lower middle class, maybe. I grew up in the north side of Fort Worth in a neighborhood, not necessarily a community. And I grew up where everyone was the same. They were either poor black, poor brown, or poor white. And the only thing we had in common was we were poor. I mean, we weren't destitute, we weren't living under bridges, but everyone was kind of equal in the fact that we weren't upper class. So I don't give a lot of credit to the argument, even though statistically I can't disprove it. And that's the unfortunate thing. But that's also part of the reason why I do this show. And I'll talk to you. I don't give a lot of credit to the argument that says students who come from lower socioeconomic classes perform at a lower level. Now, statistically, I can't argue that. That's a fact. Unfortunately, if people come from a lower financial class, grade scores are lower, academic performance is lower. Now, I don't necessarily know the reasons why. There's lots of arguments for that because my attitude is it's hard to teach something if you weren't good at it, right? But I'm trying to offer you an attitude that says there are things that I can be good at that are free. An encouragement to a child, faith and belief in that child are 100% free, and they are 100% in the power of you own that as a parent. You own it as a guardian. And contrary to where you come from or what you have in your life as an educator, you have that also to give for free. To tell a child, I know it's hard. Of course it's hard. That's why you have a teacher. But let's do it together. Let's discover answers together. I believe in you. I know that you'll learn it. I know if it takes you a little bit more time, you'll be great. That's the reason why, to quote my friend, that's the reason why children are drawn to coaches, or why we may be more drawn to a coach. Because a coach in sports knows you're not going to be successful the first time you do something. They know that they have to continuously push you and put you in a place to continuously fail so you can get to that level where you understand where you're missing the mark so that you can reach that pinnacle of what we call success by achieving that thing or overcoming that thing or learning that thing, whether it's spiking a ball, whether it's hitting a ball, whether it's hitting a tee, whether it's scoring a touchdown, whether it's making a basket. And the same thing for art teachers and musical teachers. Those coaching elements draw out the best in us because the concept of failure really doesn't exist, and this is ironic, like it does in the world of academia, which should be the number one place that we're encouraging learning, because we understand encouraging the failures is how you get to a level that inspires the willing to win. But we miss the mark sometimes. We miss the mark because we validate your attempt by a number. I gave my students a 0 or a 100 on a daily grade. A 100 if you were there and you were willing to try, whether you got the answers right or not. If you were willing to keep giving effort, keep trying to discover if you could figure it out, to me that's worth 100 points. It's a daily grade. It's a 10-15% of your overall grade. Is that a failure as an educator? I don't know. But I wasn't weighing the success on something as small as an attempt. I was saying if you keep going, if you keep pushing, if you're willing to keep trying, because you've liberated a child from the fear of failure because the grade no longer quantifies their success, knowing that they're going to have to do this from first grade through college at least, hopefully, or some higher level of learning, because it doesn't have to be college. That you teach them that if I keep trying, I'll be successful. So again, I could talk about this all night long, and I don't want to talk about it all night long. it was just very near and dear to my heart because I woke up this morning and I was upset that events that my child and other children could have done because of the probability of weather and because a few words were spoken, there's gonna be bad weather. That's pretty much what was said, right? In summation, there's gonna be bad weather. And those words, there's going to be bad weather, dictated and altered everyone's evening. And at the end of the day, we didn't get blown away by anything. And again, if the power of those few words can dictate and determine our movement as adults, then think about the implications of negative words towards a child heard repeatedly over the course of their entire childhood. Opposite of that, if they hear every day, I'm proud of you for trying. I believe in you. I love you. I know you can do it. If they hear that all the time, which doesn't cost anything, whether you are rich or dirt poor, you break that socioeconomic argument because offering advice and encouragement and belief and faith and love for your children or your students is free. It doesn't cost a penny. And again, the ultimate goal is to be there for them. So when you say, I'm not good at math, therefore I don't believe I can help my child, scratch that. The one thing that you can offer is it is bigger than mathematics. You can offer them faith and believe in themselves, which gives them the courage to say, I'm willing to keep talking about it. I'm willing to keep trying it. I'm willing to keep messing up. I'm willing to keep getting problems wrong because you believe in me and I'm starting to believe in myself. And then those small victories, I don't care how small they are, when a child gets one little concept, let's say they don't get the whole math problem right, but they understand a concept that they were missing, that's where you acknowledge them. That's where you praise them because you know it's baby steps towards success. And that's free for anyone. All it takes is a little love in your heart, a little bit of practice because it might not be something that you're good at because it might not be something that you had your whole life. But you can alter the mindset because you know that what you believe in this world, this is really important, what comes out of your mouth determines what you hear. What you hear determines what you believe, and what you believe determines your movement. If I believe that I'm a failure, I will walk and carry myself like a failure. If I believe that I am a winner for trying, I will suddenly walk and talk like I am a winner, regardless if I have trophies or medals or not, because someone believes in me. This show, the people who support me, the people I see online who continuously support my effort and write me every week saying, Bobby, keep doing this because this is going to matter to a family. It's going to be one family somewhere who says, we didn't know what to do, and thank you for that show. That encouragement is what keeps me going because I don't get anything from this other than the fact that I get to say, I'm taking what I've been given and giving it back to you. So that's my words of encouragement for you tonight. As you continue to press on, as you continue to learn how to work with your children, as you continue to follow the show to say, what can I do? Teach me more. Show me more tips and tricks and tactics and techniques and approaches to help build this environment of learning at home. This environment of learning at home. That's my tagline. Because I think that when you change the demographic at home, contrary to what you have, and you build a belief system in a child, and you encourage them, and you love them through their shortcomings. You love them when they get 30s on a test, like you love them when they get 100. No, we don't want 30s. But you got to keep loving them, and then you can help them again by helping them discover the answers by sitting with them and spending that time. Discovery is going to be the ultimate learning. Telling a child what to do, they're never going to learn. That's not the reality. We didn't learn that way either. So, again, I appreciate you following tonight. I appreciate you taking the time to listen tonight. I hope the words resonate with you because they're near and dear to my heart. The power of words is really, really important. And when you say, I don't know how I can help my child, I want to remind you again, all you got to do is open your mouth, offer them a little bit of love, change their world forever. If you're not already a subscriber, I do have a YouTube channel. It's the iTutor Math Show. It's on YouTube. You can search it. You can ping me and ask me for it. I'll give you the address. It's where all my videos are stored. It's where I store all the history of all the videos I'm making. If you believe in the cause, if you believe that we can reach other families that need a little bit of encouragement so that they can help their children, so we can master this math problem in America, don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to subscribe so you know every time I publish new content. And again, thank you for watching.